Hello, and we are back. So, today we are going to go over something that can be really confusing for people. I know it was confusing for me. Um, Hopefully, I can help out, and that is going to be equipment. So, once you get to the point where you caught quite a few fish and you got the money to start getting better stuff, that's what this video is for. So we'll go ahead and get into it here. So from what I have found, for example, when selecting your equipment, there are some various things that you want to look for, so that way you make sure you have some good solid equipment, and like per se the reel isn't too big for the rod, or your line isn't too big for your reel, etc., etc. So, just to get started here, I'll show you an example. So, right now I'm using the Fortuna Feeder FD420. If you come up here and look at the information, it gives you parameters and statistics of it. Now, if you look at the load capacity, this is the focus that you want to use to build your pole. So I recommend starting with the pole first and building it from there. So it shows load capacity is 19 kilogram. So, that's going to be the max amount of weight that it is going to be able to handle before it starts wearing extremely quickly or breaking. So you want to start with that 19 kilogram capacity. So going with this setup, I went ahead and made a decent amount of money, and I was able to get this Siberia Gold 80S size 8000. The max drag is 14 kilogram, which is under that 19 kilogram load capacity. So it will work just fine with this rod. There's not many that have a much higher max drag. There are a few, but anything beyond a 19 kilogram max drag, I would not put on this pole, obviously, because it can only handle 19 kilograms. So if I put a reel on here that had a max drag of, let's say, realistically, like 30 kilograms, obviously the reel would perform great, but if I hooked into really big fish, it's going to break my pole. Alright, so next off, we want to look at line. Now, the line and reel obviously go together. So, we'll start off with the reel. If you look at the information, for example, you see their line capacity, the max is 0.42 millimeter. That's going to give you 174 meters of line. So you don't want to get any line that's bigger than the 0.42 millimeters. Otherwise, your line's going to be extremely short, and when you catch something, if you're not able to reel it in right away, it's going to take off and snap that line, and you're going to lose it. So what I did, since the max capacity is 0.42 millimeter, is I went ahead and I'm starting out with this 0.28 millimeter line. The load capacity, again, is another factor you got to factor in. It's 15 kilogram, again, which is fine because it's under that 19 kilogram limit for the pole. The diameter is only 0.28 millimeter, so it's under the max capacity for the pole, or for the reel. So it gives me 340 meters of line. So that means that if I hook into a fairly big fish, it's got plenty of line to wear itself out with, so I can drag it back in. And then of course you got uh, your bells that you can use for an alert system. There's some other alert systems out there as well. There's one with a blinking light on it. It doesn't make any noise. That would be good as far as dark is concerned. Other than that, the other one that's available right now is an electronic one that lights up and also makes a horn type sound. That's what I'm going to be getting here shortly for this pole. Alright, so as far as weights are concerned, if you look at the weights, they don't have like a load capacity or anything like that. So it just kind of varies on what you want to use for a sinker. This is like one of the smaller sinkers that I found, so I just use it. And I'm able to cast out quite a ways. It seems to work fine. Haven't had any issues with it. The other thing is for your leaders. Again, your leaders you're really going to want to watch because it has a load capacity as well. This in particular one that I made has 15.6 kilogram load capacity, again, which is fine. It's under that 19 kilograms that the pole allows you to have. Now, as far as your hooks go, I mean, that's totally up to you what you want to use. I'm using a medium 6 and I'm still able to wind up catching 16 kilogram fish and bigger. So right now I'm sticking with this medium 6 just so I know I'm safe and I don't lock into something that's so big that it's going to possibly break my pole, my reel, other things like that. And again, you got your bait. There's several different baits that you can use. It depends on your hook. So when you look at your bait, like it says right here, allowed hook sizes, small 12 to extra large 4/0. So it varies depending on what type of bait you're using. Some of them might be a little more specific and say that you can only use like a small 12 to medium 6, like what I'm using, something like that. So really keep an eye on that. That's going to affect your fishing and your catching of fish. So definitely watch that. Now, something I did notice making my own leaders now, since I can make them on my own, is the length. You can actually make different lengths starting with 10 centimeter on up. I'm not sure what the highest one is. I haven't looked at it. However, it could actually be really helpful depending on where you're fishing. I'm trying the 40 centimeter right now. So far it seems to work okay. I think I might go ahead and drop it down to my 30 centimeter one that's just like this that I made. I'm thinking that length can make a difference as far as catching fish and possibly what you catch. I like to use longer leaders just for the simple fact that if I hook into a predatory fish like a pike, hopefully the leader's long enough that its teeth aren't going to touch the line. However, I do happen to use a hybrid braided line, so it's more resilient to things. So I haven't caught any pike on this as of yet. To let you know whether it's fairly good or not, I'm not sure as of yet. Still working on that. So let's go ahead and we'll head on over to the tackle store here and we'll kind of go over a few various things as far as like what I've shown you as far as the builds and stuff go. So there's going to be a lot of people that say, okay, to start out you want to get this, and then once you get enough money you want to upgrade to this, and then after that you want to upgrade to such and so or whatever. Me personally, I'm not going to say or tell you, what you should upgrade to or what you should use. I'm just trying to give you a guide as far as being able to build the things that you want as you slowly progress, and hopefully it will save you money in the long run. Um, when looking at stuff, for instance, like your reels, we'll go into spinning reels. When you're looking at your max drag and stuff, it's not too bad to start out with, and then once you start getting to your reels or brand of reels that actually pop up to size 8,000, like this Iberia Gold, the drag jumps considerably, but so does the price. So it's totally up to you, how you want to do this. I would recommend researching a lot, and it also depends on, the type of fish you're catching and like what you're catching the most fish on. If you're catching a lot of fish on a bottom pole, then what I would recommend is, save up enough money to build yourself a nice sturdy bottom pole, something similar to maybe to what I have. Would work just fine for some bigger fish. Like I said, so far I've caught, it was a 15.9 kilogram catfish. Uh, and that was even before I got this new reel. I actually had a smaller reel on there. So it took me a little bit of time, but I was able to get it in. If I would have had the new Siberia reel, I'm sure it would have been a lot easier to bring that catfish in. So, again, there's a ton of different makes and models and things of that nature. Like I said, it really just depends on what you're going for. If, say, for instance, you like the look of the Beluga Natura here, for example, and you want to save up the money for the 8,000 because it has 18.5 kilograms of drag, well, you're looking to spend right around 7,000 gold. It may be a little bit cheaper at Mosquito. I'm not sure. I'm here at Winding Rivulet, so it's going to be fairly close to this same price. Also, something else I like to point out to you too, now that I've thought of it, is as far as equipment or bait or lures, anything like that you can buy. Sometimes you'll notice, say you're at Mosquito, and for instance, I decide I want to get a spinning lure. So I'll go spinners, and let's say I want to go ahead and buy a spiker lure. All right, cool. Well, if you look, I wanted to buy this blue spiker, but unfortunately, it's out of stock. Um, that does happen because there's a limited amount of stock at each river and or lake. So sometimes you'll go to Mosquito and be like, oh, I can get this biker for about 50 silver, you know, which it's about the same price here at Winding Rivulet right now. Um, but sometimes, if you really, really want that particular lure or bait or whatever it is, you may have to go out and go hunting. And, well, it's not in at Mosquito, so all right, let's go ahead and try Winding Rivulet. You go to Winding Rivulet, oh, it's not in stock there. All right, well, let's go ahead and go to Old Berg Lake. Go to Old Berg, and aha, it's there. So, and you really want it, but the thing is it's going to be a little more expensive there. So, really, what it boils down to is how bad you want the item versus how much extra you might be willing to spend sometimes on these items. So, what I can recommend is, if you're looking around and you see some videos and you see that people are doing like really well, let's say with this Spiker number 2007. So you really want to try it out. All right, well, um, there's two choices obviously that you can make. Either A, you can hunt for it, and then when you find it, it's at a more expensive area, and say it costs an extra 15 silver to purchase there because you had to spend X amount of silver to get to that area, and then on top of it, it's 10 or 12 more silver. So, you're looking at spending an extra 30 to 50 silver, something like that, because you paid to get to the place and you're paying the extra that they listed at there. So you can go ahead and do it that way and spend the extra money. Or you can go ahead and say, you know what, I think I'm going to wait and keep an eye on things and kind of check back a couple times a day and see if I can't go ahead and snag it from like Mosquito or maybe Winding Rivulet. So I can save that, 30, 50 silver and use it more, or be able to use it effectively on something else you might discover. Like, for example, you might go ahead and get that lure and it's working okay for you, but not as good as you thought it would. And then say you discover that where you're fishing at, stuff is biting really good off of Nightcrawler, and you don't really have a whole lot. Well, that extra money you saved, you could go ahead and put that into that, so that way you can make more money to try, different things. So, really, that's my recommendation. I can tell you, with all the stuff that I've learned now, just learning on my own, which I'm learning along with everyone here, is that I have lost, I would probably say, at least close to 500-600 silver after just trying things and trying to get used to everything and figuring out how to build equipment correctly, buying different types of bait, doing a lot of harvesting, which as of late I've done a lot of harvesting. I would definitely recommend try to remember to save some silver to up your harvesting as much as possible, because the silver that you put into it, it's going to be well worth it in the end. Don't break yourself doing it, but just be reasonable about it, and in the end, it's definitely going to be worth it because you're going to start catching, those bigger carp, or those bigger bream and catfish and things like that are going to bring you more money. So I'll show you, for instance, let me go into my skills for a moment. So my harvesting, I've really been working on it, as you can see. Now it's up to 42.9% for my harvesting. And now I'm finally able to make pea porridge, which is a dough that you can use to catch bream. Sometimes you can catch carp on it. Other than that, I'm not sure what else you can catch because I haven't caught anything else off of it yet. But what I'm really trying to aim for is right here, which you have to have 50% skill, is harvesting fish meat. Now, if you haven't already, if you look at baits and you look at like piece of fish, I believe it's called, it's pretty expensive. So what I would rather do in the meantime is go ahead, use some money, try to get my harvesting up to the point to where once I have some fish, if I have some smaller fish that aren't really going to make me much of anything, I'll use those to my advantage and go ahead and get those or get that fish meat so that way I can use it to catch something a lot bigger. Um, so the money you put into it, in turn is gonna, it's gonna pay for itself in the end. So that's how I'm gonna work it. I have seen that there seems to be like a lot of people that catch quite a few big fish off of the mayfly larva or the honey doe. Again, you just gotta harvest. And to up the skill, you can either buy yourself a shovel. Well, to start it, you buy yourself a shovel and dig worms. Um, at some point or other, it's going to start getting to where you don't get a skill up on it every single time you dig. It's going to get harder and harder, and I've gotten to that point. So now, the other way to go ahead and up this is to make, like, I can make a ton of garlic dough. I can make a ton of cheese cubes. I can make a ton of the cottage cheese dough, etc., etc. Just going through here and making a ton of these things that I can already make. They will help skill up as well. And again, they're not going to skill up every single time that you make them, which really is a drag. But uh, in the end, it is going to take some work, but eventually you'll get to that point to where you can start getting to some of the really good baits, to where you're catching those really big, 15 kilogram fish consistently once you find those really good spots. And that's what's going to, get you your money. So that I would definitely recommend that. And as far as other things, you know, actually, I was fishing Seversky the other night, and just randomly by surprise, I actually caught a trophy river mussel off of Nightcrawler. So, just to make you aware, you can actually catch some of the trophies on some of the random bait. It doesn't have to be the bait that you see in the record listings. That might help you, but it doesn't necessarily mean, if you use that bait, you're going to catch a trophy. So I've learned that the other night. So far, I've caught 7 trophies altogether, which is pretty awesome. Um, Recently, on float, I caught a 2.8 kilogram common carp. It's a record catch. The record catch I have on float tackle with just wet bread at Oldberg Lake. Just checking it out. So, like I said, try anything and everything you possibly can. Try different types of baits, try different types of lures, try everything you possibly can. And if you find something that's working really well for you, then go ahead and stick with it. But I'd also recommend whatever you find. Say you find that there's some specific lures that work extremely well for you, and they're catching quite a few large fish. Go ahead and stick with those. But I would also recommend, while you're doing that, go ahead and toss out at least one bottom pole, if not 2, just depending on the equipment that you have. Try different types of baits on those. If you don't have a whole lot of money, just use the cheaper baits that you might have extra of, or go ahead and just buy some of the cheaper baits and test those out, so that way you're not just using one fishing method to catch fish. Especially if you have premium and you have happy hours, I would definitely recommend trying to fish as many different ways as possible during your happy hour, so you can catch the maximum amount of fish So you're going to get, obviously, one, the max amount of experience you can get with a fish that you caught. But also, in that time, not only are you going to get a good amount of experience, which makes the happy hour worth it, but you're also going to make quite a bit of money. So, if you just keep stacking those fish in your backpack, and keep going until either you have the 100 fish, or you just keep going until the happy hour is over. Hopefully, by the time it's over, you've averaged about 40 fish or better, which on average is, around 40 to 50 is usually once I stop fishing and I'll turn in. And I've been averaging anywhere from between about 150 silver up to almost 300 silver. Again, it just varies. It depends on the size of the fish and the type of the fish that you're catching. And also, going back to my previous videos, it also depends on, what the cafe is wanting as far as fish is concerned. If you're not using the cafe, again, I highly recommend it. It's going to make you, the most silver out of anything, because the cafe might want, like 5 small perch, for example. And those, depending on the size of perch, if they're just some small, we'll say like 5 perch that are at least 50 gram. So you look at 5 perch that are 50 gram, and if you were to sell them to the market, altogether those 5 perch might give you a total of 1 to 2 silver max. But if you sell it at the cafe is willing to give you 10 to 15 silver. That's huge. So it's definitely a money maker. So you definitely want to keep checking that cafe every time you're done with a fishing session to make sure that there isn't something that could net you a good amount of money. So I highly recommend that, because I wasn't using that at first, and to my advantage. If I would have been, I would probably have a little bit better gear by now than I do have. But like I said, it's a learning experience, and I'm learning right along with everybody. So hopefully, this little tutorial was helpful. And if you have any questions, I'll try my best to go ahead and answer those for you, because again, like I said, I'm learning right along with you. And also, go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and put some comments down there. Again, like I said, if you have any questions about the game, I will reply as quickly as possible. And if I do know the answer, I'll give you the answer. If I don't happen to know exactly, I'll at least share as much knowledge as I can on that particular question. Also, if you could please like and subscribe, it would be highly appreciated. I'm going to keep bringing you more and more of these videos, hopefully, here in the future. Also, I might be working on some other game videos and or just some random videos. So it just kind of depends on how things work out between now and then. But again, I hope you like this tutorial. I like sharing the information that I have with everybody. Please go ahead and let us know, the things that you're using and the techniques, and possibly the lures or baits that are working best for you, and even the areas, just to help out everybody here. That would be greatly appreciated as well. So until the next video, I hope you all take care. I hope you all get lots of fish and money, and I hope you all have lots of fun. Take care.